Hello, hello. My name is Linda, also known as Tortajala around the internet, and I love creative journaling and all things stationery. And today I want to share how I'm journaling in my Midori Hibino. I've done a very extensive flip through of this planner when I purchased it, so you can definitely go back in my videos and check that out if you're interested. But in this video, I'm basically trying to figure out how I'm going to use my Hibino for 2025 and giving my impressions after actually writing in this for about a week. So previously, I had put my Habino in the Hobonichi Alatone cover, but I soon realized it was entirely unnecessary. Not to mention the Habino is a little bit too chunky to fit anyways. They're both, sort of like plasticky covers. So it's just easier to keep the Habino just without any cover right now. I am journaling mostly at my desk and not taking this anywhere, at least not right now because I'm sort of like deep into experimenting and trying all the things in this Midori Hibino to basically figure out what it is I want to use in terms of tools and what I want to include in this very cute journal. So I haven't done a lot in terms of like setup or deco because honestly, my intention is to use the Hibino primarily just with pen and ink. In my 2025 lineup video, I talked about how I want to use my A5R's research journal for all the creative things, but with supplies like stickers, collaging papers, like all the things in my stash, because I have no issues chunking up that book. But for this Hibino, it's already really chunky, so I really don't want to chunk it up even more. I want it to be like a free creative type of journal. So ultimately, for me, that probably means journaling with pen and ink, and doodling. So the Midori Hibino starts with calendar overview pages, which can be for reference. Obviously, if you're using this as a planner, you would use these types of pages more, but I'm using it more as a journal. So I don't think that I will actually do anything on these calendar overview pages. Next, we have the future log or year-long overview by the month. And I thought I would just letter something in each month area. You can see I wrote New Year here for January, but of course it is nothing fancy. I definitely need to do some more research. I would love to learn to sort of letter uh, using a regular like pen, like decorative lettering as opposed to like calligraphy. I think that would be a fun thing to learn and good for like titles or emphasis while journaling. But obviously, I don't have the skills. So I probably should do some research each month, maybe like pick something and try it out in these boxes. Next in the Hibino, we have all the monthly pages, and the Habino actually starts in December 2024. So I decided to just swatch all of the Diamine 2024 ink vent inks in here because I was already swatching daily and I realized the Hibino had December and had nothing to put in it. So I just test swatched inks to fill up the spread. And you can see with these ink swatches, there's definite ghosting, and over here, I think there's even like a little bit of bleed through, like a couple little specks. I think it's because I was pushing too hard with my Kakimori brass nib that I was using. I do have a problem personally with applying too much pressure with pens when it's not even necessary. I'm heavy-handed. So this Hibino, it has Tomoe River Sanzen paper, and it really should not bleed. It is made for fountain pens. Um, but of course, it depends how much you try to push the limits of the paper. I realized that I really need to be careful if I'm like swatching inks to not sort of like scratch or like color in the paper too much pressure and too much back and forth scrubbing. So there's definitely a fair amount of ghosting, and I suppose it might be more noticeable because it's multicolored. Like these are all swatches of a rainbow of ink colors. And obviously, an ink swatch means that there's a lot more ink laid down than when you're just writing text. I'm not sure like if I'm okay with this or not. Generally, I just think across the board in 2025, everyone has been having, just some issues with the Tomoe River Sanzen paper. Um, in the back of my Hibino, I had already done pen tests. I was satisfied. So I'm not really sure why now I feel, I don't know, a little bit bothered by the ghosting. Or maybe it's because I just didn't realize that the colors would make a difference as well as the variety of marks and doodles and not just like journaling writing. Like if you're just writing text on line by line on the front and back, it's almost like it blends in as a pattern. So maybe even if there's ghosting, it's not as like distracting. Whereas a doodle or a drawing or like a huge splotch of ink, I don't know, it just seems to throw me off a little bit more when it comes to the ghosting. But for all of these monthly pages, I am not really sure what I want to do in these because, again, I am journaling and not really using this as a planner. I generally always have issues using the monthly pages because if I'm not using it for planning, then what is it for? Um, I'm thinking they can just be a completely different collection of things each month because you've just got boxes to fill in. So I guess for December, I did the diamine swatches. Maybe for the next month, I can do different types of inks or maybe a theme and doodle under that theme. I don't know yet. So let me know down in the comments if you do have any suggestions. But after all of the monthly pages, it goes right into the 2-page per day spreads. And I started my first day with a stamp and I hated it because I sort of stamped it crooked and it bled through. I'm not really sure why I didn't test this. I should have known, but I don't know. I was a little gung ho, just like to try to get myself to dive into this book. And then it was like, oh no. Um, I realized that with Tomoe River paper, you really need to use like a chalk ink. I think that's what people use. And I sort of regret it all already because it's a few days later now. And at the time, that first day, I basically went on impulse and ordered some chalk inks. And they're not even here yet, but I already feel like I don't even want to use stamps in the Hibino, even though it is a type of supply that doesn't add bulk to your pages, right? But I don't know. I don't even know if I want to use stamps anymore. Um, but what I did was there was bleed through with the stamp, and on this backside, I decided to just journal over everything, sort of to like see the effect if all these pages were used, even if there's ghosting, like what would it be like? So you can see that it's not too bad. I mean, obviously, even if there's ghosting, um, you can still read what you've written on each side. It's not, completely unacceptable in a sense because this paper is very thin and it probably has to be very thin if you're going to have a year-long book because it's already this chunky. Any thicker will make it just not manageable. Um, so if you flip back to where the stamp is, notice how some of the fountain pen ink from the other side, it sort of looks like it might be reacting with the stamp ink, which was, I don't know, like an MU sort of pigment ink kind of stamp thing that I had. I don't know, it's a little weird. And I think I remember someone telling me before that depending on what inks you use, because they're all made with different chemicals, over time in your journal, because you're closing the pages and, they could be touching page to page, one side to another side, over time, reactions can actually happen between fountain pen ink and stamp ink. Uh, and so maybe something's happening here. I'm not really sure. But all of that sort of made me think maybe I should not use stamps in here and complicate things. Um, when I was writing on the back side here, I did put like a blotter paper down, but notice that because I was writing, the pressure of my writing over the stamp actually made the color transfer over to the other side. You can see here lightly. Um, so again, I'm just sort of like, maybe I should just not use stamps at all, just to avoid any weird things happening. But then I was debating with myself because if this is supposed to be a free creative journal, then it doesn't really matter, right? Like I can do whatever I want. It could get messy, whatever. Like if there's a reaction, then I will see it and that will just be part of the learning. If like the idea that is that it's supposed to be the process of me creating in this, not necessarily that it has to be some finished masterpiece in the end, even though I obviously look forward to the satisfaction of having like filled up this journal as well. So I don't know, just conflicted feelings definitely about, wanting to do something, wanting to be free, but at the same time feeling a little held back because it's hard not to think about the end product at the same time. I don't know. So I am mulling over all of this to get a feel and sort of decide how I want to move forward. But generally on these pages, I was just using my fountain pens and different colored inks and different sized nibs to just see what it would look like on the page with like a full page of writing. So of course there's ghosting, and I don't know if some inks might possibly bleed, or maybe because that pen was thicker or thinner. And the reason I say that is because usually I do use extra fine or fine nibs, but because I'm heavy-handed, I think that sometimes I'm applying unnecessary pressure again. And so it's almost like I'm stabbing or like scratching the paper. Whereas if I used an even broader nib, even though there's more ink, it's less sharp. So it would be smoother and it actually wouldn't bleed in that case. So there are so many variables. I'm just going to try all my supplies and try to figure out like what it is I want to use in the Hibino. So every day I'm sort of like going through and picking a different pen, different ink color, and just writing, doing my testing. On this first spread, I already used like three different inks and pens, and I also tried some doodling as well. For day two, I tried using some felt pens, and I probably should have labeled these. I don't know why, I already forgot, but I think it's like Tombow or Pentel liner type of black pens, like Copics, Stadler, like all of those like black line pens that I have. But I think the felt tip pens, they definitely work a little better simply because there's less of that like stabbing and scratching into the paper, I think. For day three, I tried another fountain pen, but I realized that I don't like doodling with such a fine nib. So writing is fine, but when it comes to doodling, I probably often go for like a marker or just a thicker, soft nib. For day four, I actually decided to use my Ohuhu brush markers. They're like the dual brush markers where one side is like fine tipped and then the other side is a brush. So I decided to use the fine tip for writing and then the brush for some doodling, but the brush is like way too big and like soft and flexible for my taste in terms of doodling. Like I can use it to color in something, but I don't actually want to draw with it. Um, And again, this is my free creative journal, so really anything can be used, and I should change it up and experiment because that is the point, right? And I mean, I have done that so far, just diving in because I'm already knee deep, so I got to keep going because I want to figure out what of my supplies I want to use in this Habino. But at the same time, I have to be honest and admit that I feel sort of bad about these pages because they're so random and messy and crazy. Like, normally, I don't really change ink colors so often when I journal, and I suppose it would have been nice to figure this all out beforehand because I did do pen tests, but it's just not the same as actually doing a full page of writing, like a full spread every single day? So I guess this stage of a journal just can't be helped. You won't know until you have tried, right? And I suppose it's just my character flaw to sort of worry and fret over these things because there is no journal police. No one cares uh, but me judging myself, I guess. So I definitely need to learn to be more free and just let go and let myself be crazy and experiment because that is the whole point of having a free creative journal. Really treat this almost like a sketchbook because, well, I know people do have extremely beautiful sketchbooks, uh, but the point of a sketchbook is supposed to be, sketches, working things out, messy mistakes, drafts, experiments, that kind of thing, like a true sketchbook. So I feel like I need to take that to heart. Um, so flipping back, I think that using the black pen is like the neatest. It's like a felt tip kind of black pen. And I like doodling with that the most, but I guess it's also, I know, just very boring, maybe? I don't know. Here I go again with the judgment, right? Need to remind myself that the point of this journal is to be creatively free. So stop with the judgment and just let myself do whatever. So here on day 5, I did try using a Tombow brush pen, but it's really thick. Um, so we'd be doing like one big doodle rather than lots of little ones. I also tried other kinds of black pens that I have in my, pencil case. And then in the end, I tried to use a bigger, like medium nib fountain pen, but the ink was not flowing properly, so probably not a good test. And I also tried the Hobonichi Jetstream pen, but it's a little bit too fine for my taste. And then I tried a 1 millimeter ballpoint, big and giant again, but yeah, it's just less fun than fountain pens. I really want to use my inks. So for day 6, I decided to go back to the fountain pen, but I tried skipping a line and writing bigger to see what that would be like. It's okay, but I don't love it. I don't know. I don't like it. I would rather have the compact little writing. I don't know. I just prefer that more. So, yeah, I'm sounding really nitpicky, huh? But it's like a process. This is just the experimental time of doing a different thing every day to see what really sticks and what I personally gravitate towards, like truly in this Hibino. For the right side, um, here for day 6, I remember that I should try using some other supplies that I had put aside for the Hibino specifically because I didn't want to chunk up this book. So there's like some rub-on stickers here, and down here, those are all rub-on stickers. And in the middle, these are all Deco Rush tapes. I had bought a bunch of these a long time ago when they were like really in with Hobonichi, and I sort of forgot about them because I'm not good at using them. I can't seem to use them very neatly. I don't know, I just think they're a bit finicky to use. They don't start and stop properly, or maybe because I messed them up or something, or I don't have the skill. They do have an eraser so that you can like rub off, like erase the parts that you don't want or fix your mistakes and start over. But yeah, I'm just not sure I even want to use these because going back to my original purpose for this book, I think I just want to stick to writing and doodling, like using my inks and nothing else. I don't really feel the urge to use like other supplies and decorations in here, and it's probably because I designated my R's research journal for all like the supplies and deco and collage and all that kind of stuff. So here I sort of feel like I'm in opposite mode and just want to do pen and ink. So as of the making of this video right now, I still don't have like a go-to pen of what I'm going to use here. I guess I should just keep experimenting and try more things, um, all kinds of different things, just to see how I feel on a daily basis. Uh, my my goal is to get to a point where I have like a little pen pouch with all the things, like all the pens that I would use in this Hibino specifically. So then it's like my go-to. Um, that's the hope, anyways. So I'm just gonna keep on filling a daily spread and try all kinds of things and see what happens. And by the way, I have my Midori 3-year diary here because I use it as support. Because the Hibino is so chunky, when you're using the beginning or the end of the book, it's going to be really awkward, right? Because of the imbalance of the two sides. Um, so it just feels more comfortable for me to prop up the thinner side with something and to create a surface for my hand to rest on when I'm writing. And as I write down this like page, I actually scoot this support down and down to give my hand and wrist support. Yeah, so that's what I use that for. So these are the first pages in this cute little Hibino. Yeah, like I said, to be honest, I do feel like I'm graffitiing a bit over this poor Hibino and not doing like the cute book justice. But I hope to get there soon. I hope to somehow like find my flow and to figure it out, to get into some kind of groove so that it's not so like confusing right now. Um, that way there will be just less hesitation and friction, as this is a daily, journal kind of book, like 2 pages per day. So let me know down in the comments if you have any feedback, suggestions. I will take it all, because I really do want to figure this out. And of course, I am committed to using this whole book. I do not want to abandon it. It is quite an investment, and I am excited about it in terms of, journaling and doodling and using my fountain pens and using my inks. So I want to fill it up completely. There's going to be obviously a lot of satisfaction. Uh, and I've seen a lot of flip throughs from other people too. So huge satisfaction and motivation there. But it's not just because of the end result of the book. It's more so like what that represents at the end of the year when you're able to do a flip through of every single page. It means that you would have been consistent, um, and doing the creative things on a daily basis. And that is a goal for me for 2025. So, thank you so much for watching. I very much appreciate you being here and supporting me. I hope you have a lovely day. And until next time, bye.